Students to my class of BA Part 1 English Literature. We will continue studying from paper 1 section B, which comprises of some of the very known and popular Indian poets and their translation in English. So let us see who will be studying this time. So let us now focus on the poet Kabir, a very popular Hindi poet, and the translations of his poem. And today we are going to study the poem "It is Needless to Ask of a Saint." A little about the biography of Kabir, that he was born in Banaras, which is now called Varanasi, in the year 1440, and lived for about 78 years and died in Gorakhpur in 1518. He was a weaver who lived in Banaras and preached the essential oneness of all religions. He was actually critical of both Hinduism and Islam for meaningless rites and mindless repetition of mantras or prayers. From Hinduism, he accepted the ideas of reincarnation and the Lord of Karma, but rejected worship of idols, asceticism, and caste system. From Islam, he accepted the idea of God and the equality of all men. And revered by both the Hindus and the Muslims, he is also considered a forerunner of Sikhism. Some of his poetry was also included in the Adi Granth, Guru Granth Sahib, and his ideas led to the founding of several sects, including the Kabir Panth, which regards Kabir as its principal guru or as a divinity. So he has been given this kind of stature because of the way he absorbed from all religions and sects all the positivity from them. He is also a very important and interesting personality from Hindu ascetic Ramananda. In the 12th century, a great religious reformer of Brahmanism, Ramanujan had brought religion revival in South India. And the same religious revival was brought to the northern India by Ramanandan. Earlier, the Vedanta philosophy had laid great emphasis on intellectualism, and Kabir is claimed by the Hindus as a Brahmin saint and by the Mohammedans as a Sufi saint. However, his name is conclusive proof of Muslim ancestry. So he holds importance for both the Muslims and the Hindus. Something more about biography about Kabir, that he is also recognized as one of the most quoted author, with the exception of Tulsidas, and he, as I've just mentioned, criticized all existing sects in India because of their asceticism, idol worship, but still he is mentioned with respect by even orthodox authors. Vaishnav author Nabhadas in his Bhakatmal 1585 writes about him that Kabir lived perhaps during 1398 and 1448 and thought to have lived longer than 100 years. He had enormous influence on Indian philosophy and on Hindi poetry. His birth and death are surrounded by legends. And as mentioned earlier, he grew up in a Muslim weaver family, but some say he was really a son of a Brahmin widow who was adopted by a childless couple. And when he died, both his Hindu Muslim followers started fighting about the last rites. The legend is that when they lifted the cloth covering his body, they found flowers instead. The Muslim followers buried their half and the Hindu cremated the other half. And there is a tomb in Maghar and a samadhi still stand side by side. So this was the popularity of Kabir. And so because Kabir's philosophy is of a practical man, his language is common man's language, and his poems are lyrical and can be sung. So this is the brief background of the poet. And this, in post-independence India, the slogan is ask not, tell not, and think not of caste. So basically, in this poem, which we are going to study, caste system has been criticized as a barrier in the integration of the people into one whole. And Kabir in this poem says that we must not ask the saint the caste to which he belongs, because the saint is a person who is cannot be divided or be understood on the basis of his caste. After all, the ultimate aim of a priest or a Brahmin is just the quest of God. Hence, it is foolish to ask a saint to which caste he belongs. And the people of the lower caste, like a barber, washer, woman, and the carpenter, have always sought God. Even Bhakt Raidas, who was a shoemaker, was a seeker after God. So Kabir's poems are based on knowledge and morality. The success of his moral poems lies in their popularity, because he became very popular among all the people of all castes. So, in the opening lines of Kabir's lyric, which in Hindi can be said as Santan Jat na Pucho, it is needless to ask of a saint the caste to which he belongs. Really, in Indian society, particularly Hindu society, is riddled with the old caste system. Caste in India is basically an important way to differentiate. Means a society which is riddled with old caste system. People having different social rank are treated differently. But Kabir was modern in thought and outlook. He asserts that it is useless to ask about a person's caste, because he did not believe in caste system. And this poem is very rich in thought. There is no rhyme in the poem, but it is has the lyrical quality, and it can be set to music. So it's a music of the soul. So let us read the poem. It is needless to ask of a saint the caste to which he belongs, for the priest, the warrior, the tradesman, and all the 36 castes alike are seeking God. So what is the one main important characteristics of all human beings? That they all seek God. They all are in the truth of learning about the existence and the love for God. So we should not focus on this feature of a person, to which caste he belongs. So all the 36 castes are alike because they seek God. So we cannot differentiate them on this basis. It is but folly means foolishness, to ask what the caste of a saint may be. The barber has sought God, the washerwoman and the carpenter. Even Raidas was a seeker after God. The Rishi Swapach was a tanner by caste. Hindus and Muslims alike have achieved that end, where remains no mark of distinction. So at that point of time also, Kabir, who himself was a seeker after God and did not believe in the distinction based on caste or religion, and he has given illustrations of great people who were engaged in menial occupations but who achieved greatness and sainthood, like the Bhakt Raidas, a cobbler, and Rishi Swapach, a tanner of animal skins. So even a barber or a washerwoman and a carpenter become a saint when he or she is seeker after God. So when God does not differentiate among his people, why should we differentiate between people on the basis of their caste? Caste considerations have absolutely no meaning for them, for they are achievers of the common aim of seeking after the Almighty. So there should not be any distinction between the Hindus and the Muslims, since they are all seeker of one God. So today also this poem remains very important and relevant, because India's caste system is very old, and Kabir, being modern in thought and outlook, was against the caste system and asserted that it was not only useless but foolish to ask any person, and here he refers to a saint to which the caste he belonged. So you will realize that how in those times also the Kabir's poems helped to bring about an awakening among all the people of different castes, that they should not fight on the basis of caste and religion but be united because they all have one common almighty God. So it's a very small poem, and you will find that it has a simple rhyme and rhythm scheme, and the questions which would be asked would basically be that who were the people like the Raidas and Rishi Swapach, who were they, why had they become important, though they were very simple people like a cobbler or a tanner by caste, but they became saints because in seeking God they achieved those heights which does not consider your caste, because in God's eyes and seeking the God, the journey is same for all. So with this we come to end of